It's 8:21 right now on CBC. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You're on 89.3 FM, 990 AM, or on the Listen app at 0 in Winnipeg. And right now, there's a tiny space capsule orbiting the moon almost 400,000 kilometers away. Nobody's on board because it's a test, but if all goes according to plan, NASA's Orion spacecraft could start carrying people to the moon in less than 2 years. My next guest, as I alluded to, is one of the 4 Canadians in the running to be on board one of those missions. Jeremy Hansen grew up on a farm in southern Ontario. He was a fighter pilot flying CF-18s out of Cold Lake, Alberta. Hansen graduated from astronaut candidate training in 2011 and currently works at NASA Mission Control, being the go-between for astronauts on the International Space Station and the people on the ground. He's also the first Canadian to lead a NASA astronaut class. He's in town today. He'll speak to students at the Manitoba Museum, and I'm pleased he's in studio. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Great to be here.
Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Tell me what you're wearing. Describe to the radio listeners, rather, what you're wearing, so I won't do it justice.
Well, I'm wearing just a blue flight suit, which we wear for our flight training, and also it's a symbol for Canadian students of our astronaut corps.
What would it mean to you to represent the country as the first Canadian to go to the moon?
Oh, obviously it'd be an absolute honor and like a life thrill, something I've been dreaming about since I was a kid. I saw images of humans walking on the moon when I was young, happened even before I was born, but I saw those images and it inspired me. It changed my treehouse into a rocket ship, and I've been going on space missions for years, but I'd be really excited to go on, I will be flying on missions some point in the future, maybe to the moon, maybe the International Space Station, but it's an exciting time for Canada. We have a lot of opportunity coming up.
What was it like for you when you were a kid and you said this? A lot of kids want to be an astronaut. When you said it, did your friends and family know that, maybe he actually is going to do this?
No, I don't think any more than anyone else. But I was definitely supported by my parents, teachers, people. No one ever said to me, you can't do it. So I think I was lucky in that regard. But the reality is, it's just one of those things. You set goals in life and you work towards them, and amazing things happen. People help you achieve things.
How are you preparing for a possible mission to the moon? How do you prepare?
Yeah, so I've been in the astronaut corps for 13 years now. I live and work in Houston, Texas at the Johnson Space Center. Been spending time in mission control on this mission, watching them control the capsule, learning about it. But this is what we do in the Corps. We just support the ongoing missions. As you and I are chatting right now, there are 7 people in space. I just work in that program. We have a huge team of people that makes human space exploration possible, and I'm part of that team.
How hard is the wait? You've been waiting 11 years to go to space. How hard is the wait?
Oh, you just have to step back for like a second and be like, wow, how fortunate am I as a Canadian to be in a really short line to fly in space. I have one of the coolest jobs. I work with amazing people. But I think what makes it easy is it feels like I'm doing something valuable and important every single day. And it's being part of that big team. Space is changing right before our eyes. And the line between exploration and helping humanity on Earth, that's pretty blurry these days. Like, they're very closely connected. What we do in space is bringing benefits to humans on Earth, and we have huge ambitions to do more in areas like healthcare, remote healthcare, for example. If we're going to send humans to Mars eventually, we have to change how we deliver healthcare. But where else we have to change it? We have to change it right here on Earth. Technology's changed. There's more we can do. We can focus, set goals, and we can do some amazing things to help humanity here on the Earth, and then take that as a country with our international partners to the moon and Mars.
What does that mean specifically? If we're going to put people on Mars, we have to change how they're going to get health care. What change are you thinking of when you say that?
Yeah, so like right now we send really healthy humans to the International Space Station. We screen them. We make sure we don't send any problems. But if we ever do get caught off guard and we have a big problem, our plan is to bring them home. When you go to Mars, you're not coming home. Once you decide to leave Earth's orbit, you're not coming home for 2.5 years minimum. And so you're taking all your problems with you, and you have to take the solutions. And this is akin to our communities that live in remote parts of Canada. Yeah, the plan is to fly them to a hospital when things go really wrong, but sometimes you can't. The weather doesn't permit, or there's a delay. And so their technology is allowing us to change how we deliver healthcare, and we're setting some big goals in that area, and we're pretty excited about the results that'll come down the pipe.
I want to ask you about your work. I mentioned one of your day jobs is Capcom. You communicate between the International Space Station and the people in mission control. What are some of the challenges of being in the middle of 2 groups like that?
Like any communication challenge, it's understanding. And you really have to work hard to put yourself in the other person's shoes. And so that is actually what the job at Capcom is I'm an astronaut, so I can put myself in the shoes of the astronauts on board. But I also have to sit in that room with those people and really understand, like, what is it that's bugging them? What are they concerned about? What do they need to know? And then my job is to pull that information out of the astronauts, try and bridge those two worlds.
How exciting is it to be part of space exploration right now in our current times? There's so much advancement. It's moving very quickly. There's also private involvement, which is contentious depending on how you look at it. But what's it like for you to be sort of at the forefront of this right now?
It's definitely exciting. And there's a bit of a fear of loss, too. We have to be it's very obvious to me that we're doing great, done great things. We're standing on the shoulders of giants. Canada has huge opportunity ahead. I'm super proud of Canada. And I'm also a little bit scared. I realize that you've got to be intentional. You got to be a bit hungry. And I am afraid we're not quite hungry enough to reap the benefits that are sitting there right in front of us. And so that's part of, that's why I'm really happy to speak with Canadians this morning and to say, hey, be hungry. Know that we have already done amazing things, but don't sell yourself short. You can do so much more, bring a lot of value to the world, but you're going to have to be intentional and you're going to have to be a little bit hungry for it.
What do you think about Elon Musk's space tourism?
Well, I don't really relate it to Elon Musk, but I think commercialization of space is super positive. We use space more and more every day to deliver services on the planet, not because it's novel, but because it's more efficient. And we have huge challenges ahead. And so space it's not the solution, but it is definitely a part of many future solutions to tackle climate change, climate adaptation, some of the things I've talked about, healthcare, food security, for example. Mm-hmm. Space has a huge role to play. And commercialization of space helps us with those. It was actually, we intentionally want commercialization of space because it buys down the cost of doing the other things, and it just helps us. And so I see it as hugely positive.
Now, we talked about the serious things. I'm going to hit you with a couple of the fun things now, because not every day I get a fighter pilot and an astronaut in my studio. Can you watch things like Top Gun or astronaut movies without getting frustrated? Because I suspect a lot of it is just like, that doesn't happen like that.
I think Hollywood has worked really hard to capture some of the things and make it more realistic. Top Gun, there's a few eye-rolling moments, but overall, pretty awesome. And a lot of real footage in there. So I was really happy to watch it. It was fun, kind of nostalgic for me to look at the live flying shots of the F-18. It just brought me back. And then space movies, some of them are pretty good, and they really do a good job of at least showing you what it could be like. So I think it's positive.
What's your favorite thing? Is your love the speed? Because those are very different things, or to be floating through space and on the moon versus like in a fighter jet here in, maneuvering.
Challenge. Yeah, that's the similarity. I like a good challenge, and those are two fields that have provided a lot of challenge in my life, and that's what I like to do. What
do you want to leave with the students today?
Oh, just a huge opportunity, how things are changing. If they should not look at the space program of today and think that's what they're going to have to try and fit themselves into. It's not going to look anything like that. The opportunities are immense, and we're looking for bright minds to leverage the opportunities of space to solve problems on the planet. That's the way they need to look at it. So what are they passionate about? What are they worried about? And can they use space? Not necessarily build a new satellite, but leverage existing data to solve current and present day problems. There is so much low-hanging fruit in that area, a lot of opportunity. And I just want Canadians to know that they could make a huge difference. Really cool to meet you in person. Thank you very much for giving us some time this morning in studio. My pleasure. That's Jeremy Hansen, an astronaut with the Canadian Space Agency, one of 4 Canadians in the running to go to the moon with NASA. We'll be speaking to the students, by the way, at the Manitoba Museum this afternoon. The first uncrewed Orion spacecraft is currently orbiting the moon. It's set to begin its journey back to Earth next week. You're listening to CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM, or on the CBC Listen app. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for being with us this morning. Right now, your CBC Winnipeg News.